Hello. Well, today we're going to be talking about something really provocative, at least in my opinion. Let me start by sharing with you what sparked this particular panel that we recently conducted at Grand Rapids Comic-Con. Recently, on one of my other YouTube channels that I have with my son called Generation Geek, where we kind of do the geek out thing and do reviews and all of that. Check it out if you're interested. Check out Generation Geek here on YouTube. But during one of the interviews we had with an amazing man and a legend in the world of comics and animation, Mr. Larry Houston, I found it very, very telling that I was so inspired by his journey as a creator, probably more so than the actual works that he created. Now, granted, the works that he created were in large part my entire childhood on a plate. But when I sat back and I reviewed the video and was admittedly geeking out at the entire experience, it really forced me to reflect on my experiences as a professional artist and instructor to this point. If you don't know anything about me, I'm Doc Solo. I'm the director of Ka-Pow, the Comic Art Academy, the real art school for real people with real lives, taught by real pros. But I've had a very, very blessed and serendipitous journey in the comic craft to this point, especially being someone that does not have a huge lexicon of work behind them. I'm very grateful and humbled by the experiences that I had, that I'm able to intelligently and in a qualified manner share with our students here at Ka-Pow. But some of my experiences really shook me at my core because I didn't understand the significance of representation behind the pencil. And if you've been to a comic convention in the past 3 to 5 years, it's a very, very common topic. I think I spoke at it at another potential partnership convention that we're now in negotiations with 2 years ago, shortly after Ka-Pow had been around for about a year, on the same topic about representation in comics. And I'm seeing the same conversations on repeat, but this is where I think we kind of went down a different path. After talking to Mr. Larry Houston and revisiting my own specific journey and reflecting on it, I was surprised and extremely humbled by how important it was for many aspiring artists that I was a person of color, that I was a black man executing at a particular level of proficiency. And that's not to say that the characters and the stories themselves don't carry equitable weight. But what I posed the question when I created this panel is, in your opinion, where does representation most significant? In the creator or in the creation? And hopefully you'll find something here that blesses you and benefits you moving forward on your philosophy as it pertains to representation. Because we know that DEI and things of that nature are a hot topic in politics, and that's not what this is about in any way, shape, or form. What it really is about is the power of inspiration that representation inherently carries with it. And so check out right now my panel on representation. Where does it matter most, in the creator or the creation? Co-hosted by my good friend David Brown, an incredible artist in his own right, burning up the Michigan scene. I call him Mr. Comics Michigan, an incredible individual, a very adept artist, an all-around good guy, beautiful family, and he loves the comic craft. And he was gracious enough to join me on this panel. Now, sidebar, you're going to see 2 black men on this panel, and that's just how it turned out. I actually had invited other people of other ethnicities to join us. Unfortunately, they couldn't break away from their tables. You know, you work with what you got, but I really wanted it to be a very balanced conversation, because that's how I like to navigate, certain topics with as much input from involved communities that may have a particular point of view, because I think it matters, especially as a creator. It helps make me better as a creator, knowing how someone else with a different cultural reference is navigating a similar topic. But unfortunately, it was just me and David. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to, I thought it was fortunate because I really enjoyed this. And so check out this panel from Grand Rapids Comic-Con 2024 talking about true representation in comics. Where does it carry the most weight, in the creator or the creation? Check it out. Okay, we'll give it 5 more minutes, folks, and we'll get started. How's everybody doing today? Everybody's good? Yeah?
Friday. This ain't bad at all.
This is not bad for a Friday.
It's Friday, we're not at work.
Yeah.
So who called off of work today? He was playing hooky.
In advance.
I get it. I tell you, I lost, this has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about. I lost my job. I was 23. I lost a job. I was working in corporate accounts at a bank. It was my very first comic book convention. And she wouldn't give me the Saturday off. Now, mind you, we worked Monday through Friday. This was the one Saturday out of like quarterly where we have to come in and just kind of organize accounts and, you know what I mean, dispose of, back then they did paper checks and all that stuff. She wouldn't give me the day off. And it was my wife who said, babe, I really think you need to go to that. You know, because I was drawing, I was getting feedback from editors, but I'd never been to a comic book convention before. And I was invited, it was in Chicago, I was invited to assist at a table. So I was going for free. They was like, hey, you help us out at the table, you get in. I'm like, I need to see what this community looks like. She fired me. I went. But it launched my career, literally. The people that I met there, it was the best decision as far as an artist. Yeah. And literally, and I was terrified. And you have to excuse me, I'm a man of faith. And I really believe it was a God thing because I lost the job. Now mind you, to add insult to injury, I was married with 3 kids. Okay, so you understand the impact there. My wife had to have a lot of faith in me to say, now mind you, I didn't bring any art. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been to a convention. I didn't know what it was. And, but there I met the man who would teach me digital art. He had the table right next to me. He flew me out. He was a head designer at Hasbro Toys. He flew me out. I stayed a week with him. Back then there was no YouTube, no social media. We're talking the 90s. Okay, I'm old. I got kids knocking on 40. Okay, so yeah, I got kids knocking on 40. So I met him. He was right next to me. I met friends now that are long-standing. We were all aspiring artists, but they're now mainstays at Marvel, DC, the whole 9 yards. And I met them at this first convention. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, but show you how God works. A week later, I had already applied for Chicago Police Department 2 years prior while I was in the military. Right? I took the test 2 years prior. It was a 2-year waiting list. They had called me 3 months prior to this convention and offered me a job. It was the height of the crack epidemic in Chicago. So there was blood in the streets. Obviously my wife and my mother and my family were like, no, don't do it, right? I declined the job with CPD, declined it. Get fired from the bank. The week later, I called back with my tail between my legs because I still knew I was on the waiting list. They're like, you go back into the lottery, there's no guarantee we're going to call you back again. Yeah. Sure. I call. The dude makes me feel as stupid as he can make another person who's a sergeant. Well, that was dumb. Why'd you do that? You know, I'm like, I get it. Can you just put me back in the lottery? I don't need it. You know what I mean? 2 weeks after I made that call, the director of the personnel department, his name was Superintendent Bill Powers, called me personally. He says, I hear you want to be the police again. I said, yeah, I talked to Sergeant such and such last week. He already told me I was stupid. He told me you better. He says, no. He says, you have the highest test scores we've seen in 20 years. You start next week. I was not out of a job longer than 3 weeks. Isn't that crazy? So things work out.
It works.
They work out. So anyway, thank you guys for coming. I am D.R. Solo Perry. I am the founder and director of Ka-Pow, the Comic Art Academy. We are an online learning institution for people that are interested in learning visual storytelling of the comic arts. That's all we teach. That's the only thing we teach. It's all taught by industry professionals, all virtual learning. Come see us at our booth. I was meant to bring some stuff to give you guys, but I left it at the table. I'm also a professional animator. I've worked on Batman animated series, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain in the 90s. I've done freelance work for Marvel. I have been hired by YouTube to teach their global comic book fans how to draw. They actually contracted me for a period of time. That was fun, and they pay very well, by the way. What else? And I have my own studio. Okay, and I'm father, grandpa, the whole 9 yards. And with me is Mr. Brown. Tell them about yourself.
My name is Dave Brown. My category of something is not nearly.
You might want
like
to put that on because he ain't here. So.
So it's not nearly like that. So I'm still learning. I'm still building. I started my own comic book company, Through the Storms Comics. I'm based out of Detroit. That's my hometown, and I'm just a guy who loves to draw, who loves to illustrate, and try and build my love of illustrations one brick at a time.
He's being modest. So let's be clear. My man is being modest. I met you here.
Yeah.
At my very first year. As soon as I launched the school. Incredible artist. More than that, a very incredible person. I call him Mr. Michigan of comics. Because if you are a Michigander,
I like that.
And you do Motor City, if you do a con in Michigan, he is a mainstay.
Yeah.
You've done art for Grand Rapids, right?
Yes.
He's been on the news. I follow him on Instagram, so I know what he's doing. That's why I say he's being modest, right? He's been featured on local news and does workshop. Come on now, don't make me do it.
I try and dap my feet in everything, and
Okay.
and like pretty much like the grace of God, pretty much. I have these opportunities that just come my way, and I jump on board. I don't say no to really anything. So once it comes at me, I'm there really. But nothing obviously comes. I have to say, it's so amazing that he was telling his story. Mine was actually the same kind of way. I wanted to dive more into my comic books and be out there more. My wife was like, you need to go ahead and get out there. And we had 3 kids and, I had a job already, but, I was like, man, I'm finna do it. And I went there, I met so many people, I networked with so many people. And from that point on, pretty much I started really being the local artist that was on the side of the creator. But after a while, I wanted to do more. So I said, like, I can do this. I could do it by myself, really. I'm not trying to say like it was no hate towards nobody else, but I just like, nobody does things better than you can. So I went out there and I started, I worked backwards. I had one portfolio and one piece of paper, and I started in Philadelphia at Wizard World. And I was just like,
And I started Wizard World Chicago. See, Wizard World, yeah.
It was just like, I wasn't there for the money. I was just there to be immersed pretty much amongst other artists. Because I'm from Detroit. It's not that many, at that time, me, young at that time, it's like, I don't know who's who really, So as far as me, I'm the only one who do what I do. But when you start going into that world, it's a breath of fresh air, really, And that's why you'll see me at so many different cons. And, because it's not, a lot of people take this as almost like a competition pretty much. And, it's not really, it's like, we all in it. We all doing this, we all, struggling all together. Some are higher than others, and that's well and good. And that's kudos to everything. That's good. Mm-hmm. But, everybody has making their own steps, the way they can really. And that's me, the way I build, everybody give me all the praise. And I'm super happy about it, man. But it's like, I still got a long way to go. And I'm like, I just try my best to stay passionate on what I love.
That's it. We none of us have arrived.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to True Diversity in Comics, okay? And hopefully you guys are here for some insight. And I definitely, because of the size of the room, I really want to get feedback from you guys as we move forward. But I tell you what inspired this topic for me personally, okay? There's no shortage, especially in today's culture, where you go to any con, there's going to be a diversity in comics panel, right? Seeing nothing new. Well, the reason I named it True Diversity is because since I started teaching, I started officially teaching at the International School of Comics, which is a world-renowned art school based out of Italy that has satellite locations. Well, I taught at the Chicago location. And when COVID hit, they had to transition to online learning. Well, at the time, I was already building Ka-Pow specifically for online learning because I was tired of mulling my things around in cases from libraries and schools and, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so anyway, what I noticed during COVID, I jumped on a platform called OutSchool. Anybody familiar with OutSchool? It's an online. It started with homeschoolers, right? But when COVID shut down schools and everything, a lot of teachers flocked to OutSchool so they could still earn and teach virtually. And so I thought it was a great opportunity for me to kind of exercise ahead of time the strategy for Ka-Pow, vet my teaching style, the age group I wanted to target, all those things. And so anyway, when I started teaching at OutSchool, there was a plethora of comic-focused artists on the platform. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands, okay? And I'm trying to find my way in it, okay? And so I get on OutSchool, and as soon as I start teaching, I started really rising through the ranks as far as, you know, how the algorithm recommends you, right? And I started getting inbox from parents saying, when my kids saw that there was a Black artist that drew like this, they wanted to join your class. And I'm always reading the tea leaves, all right? I'm a true capitalist. Do not get it twisted, okay? My thing is, listen to what the people say, give the people what they say they want, you'll probably do okay financially, right?
Right.
Right? Basic, very, so I'm always listening to what people are saying, right? Not saying that it always affects my decisions, but it will behoove me to at least listen, right?
Right.
And so when I started getting these ratings and reviews from these parents, it was in concert with the shift in the marketplace where the focus started leaning towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, for those of you who are old enough, you may know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is nothing new. Back in my day, it was called affirmative action, okay? Right? You laugh, you know about it, right? Okay. Back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, it was affirmative action, okay? The new incarnation is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what we saw in comics, and maybe you guys, again, we're all fans, which is why we're here. What we saw was an emphasis on targeting marginalized groups, right? Okay, in the stories and the characters, okay? Now, I'm one of the guys, I'm partnered with comic store owners. So I always want to see how certain books are selling, right? Especially when they're targeting these marginalized groups. You dig what I'm saying? The numbers will tell you who's buying what and why they're buying, right? People we buy out of emotion, primarily. Yeah. We may think it's a logical decision, but we normally buy because something makes us feel a certain way about it. Would you all agree? Right? Yeah. Okay. Whether it's price, I feel good about the price. It always whittles back down to emotion, okay? And so, talking to the store owners, just the ones that I'm partnered with, that my school is partnered with, I saw that certain numbers weren't reflecting the effort with certain books, right? Whether it be race swapping a character, right? Yeah. That was formerly white, making them Black, whether it be a book specifically targeting the LGBTQ plus community, right? How's that book selling? My thing is, if it makes money, it makes sense, because this is a business, right? And largely, just by talking to the store owners that I knew, the numbers weren't reflecting the effort. There was a disconnect, okay? And so I started a YouTube channel with my son. I have a YouTube channel for Ka-Pow. Check us out at Ka-Pow School, please. But I also started a YouTube channel with my son called Generation Geek. And we started interviewing some of my heroes, right? And we recently interviewed Larry Houston. And when I was talking to him, he kind of triggered this conversation that we're having today. Where and how does representation carry the most impact? Is it in the character or in the creator, right? Because my personal experience was even one of my students, if you guys are here tomorrow, we're going to be
celebrating our first graduating students from Ka-Pow at our booth at 12 o'clock, okay? It's small, nothing fancy, but they're coming in. And so one of the students that we're celebrating, she made her decision on whether to join Ka-Pow when she saw my face on the website. You understand what I'm saying? It was a cultural decision for her as well as a competency. She saw my work and she says, okay, he's competent, but he's black too. You understand what I'm saying? And so it posed the question, and I don't have the answer, and this is why I wanted to have guests, and I'm glad that it's a modest group. Again, more people, more pulses than I expected. Where does it carry the most impact? Because we've done the schools, you and I both, right? We see the characters. You know, we got the Brave New World trailer that just dropped with Captain America, so we got, Black Falcon Cap, right? Oh, and I started harnessing this on my YouTube channel when I said I didn't need a black Captain America. And as a black man, I know that was incendiary, bro, right? And I said it live, right? I said it live. I'm like, I personally didn't need a black Captain America personally, right? And so, in your opinion, where does representation carry the most weight and why?
Ooh.
See, I told you it's going to be different, didn't I?
Yeah, most weight and why. I mean, I'm kind of with you on the Captain America part, to be honest. But, because I'm more of a build our own, make our own characters. Okay. But also sometimes I feel like we don't get the support pretty much off that, from others or even our own, to be honest. So, but then you get the arguments pretty much when people say like, he a Captain America or even a black Batman pretty much, It's like the weight. I mean, like, I understand sometimes to build, more, what's the word I'm looking for? More controversy, more, energy towards this person. So therefore people gonna have all this, right? More interest pretty much because everybody gonna start talking about this character pretty much. Okay. Either good or bad, really, But I believe in pretty much making our own characters. That's why I make my own characters in my world. My world, it is all black. It's all black characters. I mean, it's nothing to do with, of course I want to do white character or I want to do anybody, but this is my world, my comics. 313, this is my world. I live in Detroit, really. It's mostly pretty much like a Street Fighters meet Detroit, but it's what I know of, So it's like I stick to what I know, and then I'll maybe, branch off to do something else. Not now, but later. Okay. So it's like, I feel like, us, building our own self up first and our own kind of characters, creation and stuff like that is more important than pretty much really just giving this person that name. Okay, he's the new Captain America. Really? Well, see, and I was the kind of person who didn't really care for the Captain Winter Soldier when it first was introduced. And then when when we saw the series and we see where they was going with it, and it was like, oh, okay. They was asking Sam so many questions and say like, why should you take on that shield? This, and third. And it's like, oh, it makes sense. I personally think that was really powerful, and it became one of my favorite series, really. But that's
okay. I think you bring a very valid point. So first, let me be clear on where I stand with the representation issue. I believe it matters on both ends, right? In the creator and in the creations, depending on what you're trying to elicit in the mind of the viewer, okay? It does matter that we see people that look like us, that represent our sector of society, right? But I think it's more important that the creators stick the landings on such characters and not simply pander to cliches and stereotypes, okay? Which I think is in large part why, just FYI, it has not worked. Let me just be clear, right? The numbers have shown that it has not worked, which is why we see Kevin Feige and them have announced the huge pivot that Disney is attempting to make, right? They are, yes, they are monolith, but they are reflective of the voice of the people that are consuming their projects. They respond to the marketplace. They're not proactive.
Attention all you aspiring comic artists. Are you passionate about drawing and the unique form of storytelling only found in comics, graphic novels, and manga? And you're ready to level up your skills without breaking the bank? Well, we've heard you loud and clear. Hey, I'm Doc Solo, the director of Ka-Pow, the Comic Art Academy, the real art school for real people with real lives, taught by real industry pros. And we're proud to introduce Panels and Gutters. Join us every week for a live 90-minute lecture delivered straight to you by a seasoned comic industry professional, where we dive deep into the art and craft of comics. Now, maybe you're an absolute beginner, a pro looking to refine your skills, or maybe you're just considering enrolling to become a full-fledged Ka-Pow student but aren't quite sure if you're ready to make that commitment to our main course just yet. Well, if any of these are you, then Panels and Gutters is perfect for you. Not only do you get top-notch seasoned instruction, but you also get to become part of our vibrant community, where you can share your work, get feedback, and participate in regular creative challenges, all designed to help keep you motivated, supported, and growing as a comic creator. Don't wait. Sign up for Panels and Gutters today and start your journey to becoming the competent artist your stories demand and our industry desperately needs. Visit teachutodraw.com and join us and other aspiring artists everywhere for Panels and Gutters today. See you in class. Solo out.
Right? Business responds to what the people say, okay? And we largely don't know. It is a crapshoot, because when you put anything out, you don't know whether it's going to hit its mark. There's no way of guaranteeing that. You can be as black as midnight and go into the hood, and the folks in the hood be like, nope, we don't want it. I've seen it happen.
Yeah, countless times.
You understand what I'm saying? There's so many mitigating factors in the success of a property, okay, that distilling things down, this is my opinion, I'm going to open it up for feedback. Distilling characters down or making the emphasis on the race, on the sexual orientation, on the gender, to me is a recipe for disaster. Because what you're doing is you're ostracizing and eliminating in a large section of the marketplace when we actually have more in common as people. I have more in common with you as a man and a human, right, than I do as a black man. I don't know what your nationality is, but whatever that is, right? If we just do that, then you lose me if I'm just targeting that aspect of you. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Right? And to me, it is creatively lazy, right? It's the lowest of hanging fruit. One of the students that we're celebrating tomorrow, she's driving in right now. When you enter our school, we like to get a baseline. I tell people it's not about your skill set. We'll give you the skill set. You have to bring a mindset. We'll give you the skill set, which is why we have an interview process. And we accept students. We just don't take anybody, right? When she came in, she'd already had a webcomic, right? And she's part of the LGBTQ plus community, right? And it was targeting that sector of community. That's what she knew. That's what story she wanted to tell. So when I asked her what her goal was in this story, she said, representation. I said, okay, let's go there. Let's go into representation. She had every sector of the LGBTQ community represented, right?
A lot of sectors.
There's a lot of sectors. You're like her. So let me not exaggerate. She had at least 7 or 8. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
For any cast. Think of how many X-Men you may see in a book at any given time, or Avengers, right? You may see 4.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're not seeing everybody. But anyway, that's a lot, right? So when she told me representation, you all have to understand how my brain works. I am on the spectrum. I have Asperger's. So objectivity and specificity matters to me. And I've been able to leverage that to some success. I bring my wife with me, because I'm very low on empathy. And so my wife is highly empathic. She's at the booth, so if you don't want to talk to me, she'll be there. Okay, just FYI. All right. But when people say things to me, definitions matter. Specificity matters. And so when she said to me, representation, I said, then you failed. And she's like, what? I said, yeah, you failed. I said, represent, why? I said, because, you're trying to represent who? She said, society. I said, that's not society. I said, that's a very specific sector in society. I said, now, if you're talking promotion and exposure to a sector, success. But when you're talking representation, as soon as you say representation, you want to see you in there. You want to see somebody that represents you in there. You want to see somebody that represents you in there. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you do that, and she got it. She didn't take it. I said, so you might want to change your targeting because that's going to affect your success, right? At least your metrics, how you measure it. You feel me? Yeah. Because a lot of times when we create properties, and we've seen this at Marvel, we've seen it at DC, we've seen it at Disney. Again, lowest of hanging fruit. They don't understand that the things that connect us are far greater than the things that divide us. We just tend to focus on the things that divide us. Would you all agree with that? What you got, Dave?
Oh, I don't know, man. I'm just kind of agree with that one. You got me deep in those. I was like, yeah, you're right.
I would love to hear what you all have to say. Anybody have a question, feedback? I welcome all of it. Yes, Pikachu? Is that what I'm seeing?
Pikachu.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not a huge Pokemon person. Forgive me.
I just wanted to ask.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that a lot of companies sometimes try to force diversity, such as black representation, by employing black people into their companies and sometimes firing other white people to make room for them, even if the black people aren't as skilled as their standards usually are. And sometimes they force black people into their stories as well when they weren't originally planning to, which sometimes can feel a bit clunky and stuff like that. So I was wondering, what are your opinions on this forced diversity?
You just kicked a hornet's nest, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Wow. I love it. Go ahead, you go first, Dave.
No, please. Let you go first, and then I'm piggyback off.
Okay, so mind if I give you a quick story? I'm a storyteller, so usually I have a story that I like to share. Okay, when I was in the military, when I was in the Army, okay, I'm a disabled vet. When I was in the Army and I was overseas in Korea, I get called in to the commander's office, and I think I'm in trouble because I was a partier and a womanizer, to be quite honest, and we like to fight. And so I'm like, okay, what did I do and when did I do it? Right? So I come into the office, and there is this black captain wearing a beret with a funny little symbol on it, and there is this white lieutenant, his subordinate, with the same symbol on it, right? They were sent to recruit me for, and I kid you not, cannot make this up, Delta Force. Right? I thought it was just a movie with Chuck Norris. Seriously. I'm like, this is really a thing? No, it's a thing. It's a joint international task force, right? Comprising various aspects of the military. And very strategic in how they present it. Black superior, white subordinate, targeting a black specialist. See the optics there? And so when they did this spiel, I had already knew that my test scores were through the roof when I applied for the military. I knew that already, okay? But you didn't select me from the onset. It was the height of affirmative action. And so when I challenged the captain on it, I'm like, so why me and why now? Literally, right? And he says, well, you tested in the top, I think it was top fraction of a percent amongst my ethnic group. I said, well, how did I test across the armed forces is my question, right? And I think I tested in the top 1 or 2%, which still qualified me. You understand? I'm like, well, why are you coming to me now, right? Why? And he says, what? And he gave me the brother speech. Well, you know, brother, blah, 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 blah. And you see, I got this white boy under me. He went to the hood with me on that one, right? Yeah. No, dude, if I'm lying, I'm flying. He was trying to appeal to me because they had to hit a quota, right, of inclusion of qualified black soldiers. Well, I was qualified from onset, but without this mandate, this military mandate that had been passed down, you would not have come knocking on my door, all right? That was some other factors I declined it, okay? How do I feel about that? Does that kind of give you an inclination how I feel about that? I still believe in a meritocracy. Now, we know largely in the community that we live in the country, as much as I love it, I've defended it. I came back and defended my community. Two things can be true at the same time, okay? I get the reason why we have DEI. I get the reason why we had to have affirmative action. What I did not agree with is its application. Does that make sense? Okay? Because you're absolutely right. There are people that are not qualified that are getting positions solely on filling an ethnic quota or checking off a box. Okay? That is the wrong decision. Now, if I can kill two birds with one stone and that's a mandate, that person should also be qualified. You understand what I'm saying? But if I have a white person, right, that is more qualified, then that person should get the job regardless of their color. If I have a white male, he should get it. If she's a white female, she should get it if she's the most qualified. And I think that has been the failing, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. I think that has been the failing in the application, despite its intention. I do believe the intention was good, right? But I've seen it before. And I believe that it sets marginalized groups up for failure because you do have some insidious thinkers that say, okay, I'll meet the quota, but I know they're not qualified. But you want me to get this? And then now it sets that community back because that person isn't able to meet the burden. And they did it intentionally. There are people that insidious. I've seen them. Okay? I will always, if you look at the composition of Ka-Pow, I've told Dave this. I've tried hiring other brothers. They weren't qualified. Mm-hmm. They didn't take the meeting. Both of my instructors are Caucasian white males. You understand what I'm saying? And I did not care. They were great teachers. I saw how they got down on YouTube. I saw how they treated people at tables. I saw their artwork. I'm like, cool, okay, it is what it is. You dig what I'm saying? But what I'm not going to do is sacrifice the integrity of my institution for optics. Does that answer your question? Yeah? I hope I did. But that's a great question.
That was great.
That's a great question. Anybody else? What you got?
No, it just had me thinking pretty much, and I'm 100% with you on that whole thing. It just sucks that sometimes that you are, it kind of is what it is, though. I mean, I don't know the really professional way of really breaking down it, because I feel like I live in the trenches, really. So it's like I like working on my own. Because like I said in the beginning, who's gonna do better than you on, really?
Right.
I draw, I write, I love my style, I love the way I work things. And, as much as I would love to work, I love working with other people, but also I know it's like, your style don't match my style. Let's see that, So, and I would love to work with some people, but sometimes even working with somebody black doesn't mean that's something better. It's like, well, I want to work in this kind of way. I want to work in that kind of way. Like I said in the beginning, when I was doing conventions, it was other black creators pretty much. Sometimes they did stuff that I didn't really like.
Right.
You showed up, the con started at 9 or 10. You showed up at noon or 2.
Right.
Right.
I dig it.
That kind of stuff bothers me,
Right.
because, I'm here to build a fan base, or I'm here to meet people, and stuff like that. Or I'm here to sell, and it's like, you're not on types with that. But also, that I've been with white too, that did the kind of same thing. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a mixed bag, pretty much on a lot of things, though. But I feel like it's just society, people really, but when you meet those certain people that you get that good energy with, it's like, okay, we here, we know what we're doing together, and okay, so yeah.
I dig it. Anybody else have anything they want to? Anyone? Stand up, please, so I can. Sure.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a novice writer.
Okay.
I have a hard time stories.
Okay.
Just because I feel like a lot of my
Okay.
I was wondering if you had any recommendations to be able to include more diversity in character design?
Okay, great question. We actually teach that when we do our character course at Ka-Pow. What I have found the most effective, so let's be clear, you don't have to be black to write a black character. You ain't got to be a woman to write a female character. I don't subscribe to that. Again, that's another faux pas that we've seen at Marvel Disney, right? Exactly. You know what I mean?
Good, yeah.
Yeah, Green Lantern. Facts. And so what I'm a fan of is doing your homework and having consultants. You dig? I have several friends of mine. I'm not a name dropper, but they're in Hollywood. And they will call me to ask my feedback. Some are Caucasian, or some are maybe writing a cop or a guy in the military, right? And they call me for accuracy. You dig what I'm saying? That's smart, because people in those communities can sniff out disingenuity. When you're disingenuous, they can tell. Like, you're faking the funk, bro. You didn't even talk to somebody who does this. You did? You know, I have one writer friend of mine in Hollywood. I have a very interesting past. Again, I got stories. That's why my students love me. I'm open with my stories. I used to be a drug dealer. FYI, went from drug dealer to cop, right? But it made me a better cop. Know that, okay? Know that. And so he actually contacted me for that aspect of my life, right? He's like, dude, what was it like when you were out there, you know, running your crew? You know, because that world is foreign to him. But when I tell you he stuck the landing, and it's only because he did the homework.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but listen, I could not wait to share this exciting news with you. If you are passionate about learning comic art and you're curious about Ka-Pow, we are offering the first 2 weeks of Panels and Gutters absolutely free. That's right. The first 2 weeks of Panels and Gutters are free, no charge to you. Well, Solo, what happens after 2 weeks? I'm glad you asked. Absolutely nothing. After 2 weeks, even though we'd love to have you at the Ka-Pow fam, if you decide to move on, we wish you the best. But we are so confident in our education here at Ka-Pow that we are giving you the first 2 weeks of Panels and Gutters absolutely free. So, sounds like a pretty good deal to me. What are you waiting for? See you in class. Solo out.
So if you're writing a character or designing any character that is foreign to you, let me tell you something about people. People love talking about themselves. All you got to do is show an interest.
That's it.
That's it. You know, in today's social atmosphere, we are more non-social than ever. Okay? We don't connect with the people right next to us. There's a story right next to me. There's a story sitting right in front of me wearing a black Superboy shirt, right? All I have to do is ask, right? And show an interest, a genuine interest. Do your homework. It's almost like the old journalists of old, right? They went out in the streets and they pounded the pavement. We don't do that anymore. And you can just drop somebody an email and say, can I pick your brain? Can you give me 20 minutes? Trust me, that 20 minutes will turn to an hour. I always start with 20 minutes, just FYI. And I've yet to see one end up less than an hour. Okay?
Yeah.
Am I lying?
100%.
Right? People love talking about themselves, right? But I'm genuinely interested because your story is going to help me tell my stories better. Does that make sense? Right? And so I tell young writers, because I'm a writer artist, don't write anything you aren't sure about. And if it's not your life, get somebody else's. Co-op somebody else's life and let them tell it. And then you just be their voice in your property. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions? Yes.
Yeah, from a creative standpoint, and just picking up something that you had said earlier about, like, in your book, all your characters are black. Do you find it better to write, characters that writing black characters in an absence or without that, contradiction between black characters against culture or black characters within their own culture, in that sense? So, like, what is it like writing stories of, like, queer characters without straight seeding?
Well, that's a great question.
sort of rise up in their own culture, or does it lack something? It's not contrasted against an other.
Oh, wow.
You got that one. I'm gonna follow up after you. I got an answer for that.
Okay. My character is pretty much it's pretty much a follow up, pretty much, because it's already building up to, because technically a white mayor is pretty much taking over the city of Detroit and making a lot of our people disappear, and our heroes pretty much band together to figure out what's going on here. So it's like, everybody's already separated as it is. And that's how I feel pretty much. That's why I say my stories, they might be all black, but they're based around something of me. It's a lot of fiction, obviously, but it's based on something. The characters in here are really all separated, just like how some of my siblings or cousins are really separated. But then when things happen with something in our family or something like that, somehow we always band together and and embrace this. What's going on? What's happening here? Yeah, I ain't seen this person in 3 years, but you know what? Ain't nothing changed at all. So it's like, building that world around certain situations and certain demographic, pretty much. Really sorry, but
I love the Jetsons, man.
Thank you. That's the one. But building a world around that is just important to something like me. Really, like I said, I want to build on other characters on the demographic, but at the time being, not right now, because like I said, like you just said earlier, doing your homework is super important, and it's super important to me. So I want to get it right, if not at all.
In that sense, is like the other of your characters more setting than a character in themselves.
There you go. 100%. Thank you. Yes.
My answer to that is a little different. I have my own studio. It's called Honor Studios Entertainment. What I would teach my students is this: we don't live in a vacuum. Life does not survive in a vacuum. Do you understand? A lot of times we write what is safe for us. Does that make sense? Right? When there's a level of comfort in staying in your echo chamber. But last time I checked, true growth and advancement only happens when you're outside of your comfort zone. Okay? So a lot of times it's very easy to draw my little slice of the world. And that can be very impactful, but it also, especially if you're not skilled, and this is the problem, right? A lot of people they overestimate their actual ability to tell certain stories, right? Storytelling, narrative is a monolithic skill in and of itself, okay? I've always been considered a talented writer. It wasn't until I launched Ka-Pow that I started doing my homework and I found out what I didn't know about writing. Do you understand? That really elevated my craft, okay? But I got a lot of attention just on talent, but there's a low ceiling to talent. This is what I tell my students. Okay, it won't take you so far. Living in that echo chamber, it's safe, it's comfortable, it's familiar, right? But it takes a marked amount of skill for it not to feel insular and isolated. Most people that I know that attempt to write like that without the supporting creative muscles typically falls flat in one note, typically. Do you understand? Our life, the lives that we live, the most powerful source, pick one. It's always an intersection that a person acknowledges or brings attention to. When I met this person. One of my favorite movies of all time exemplified that. Forrest Gump. It was a life of intersections, right? And we saw all of these things. And believe it or not, most of us live life like that. That's the thing that amazed me about that movie, right? Most people live life. If we were to actually, this is why I love talking to people about their experience. Because when you force people to recall and think, I interviewed Larry Houston, the creator of the original X-Men series. And
awesome dude.
And he's a consultant on X-Men 97. It's on me and my son's YouTube channel. I hate that it didn't get more views. Seriously. That was Generation Geek. That channel's called Generation Geek. I'm not here to promote that because my son ain't here. But it's Generation Geek. You see, I'm not even really promoting my studio. I'm here with Ka-Pow. There's different aspects of me. There's phases of me. I'm here with Ka-Pow. But Larry Houston, when he started talking, and he says this in an interview, things started coming to him that he had forgotten as he started telling us the story. And it was amazing. When I tell you this dude had a creative Forrest Gump experience, I was like, oh my God, you have literally touched my entire childhood. And I didn't know it. You understand? My son, he's 30. He was tripping out because he's like, you touched I just knew X-Men. I didn't know that you did Care Bears and the G.I. Joe movie intro. And I'm like, as he started Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, I'm like, are you kidding me? Huh?
The guy who did X-Men stuff?
He was on the production team of Care Bears. He was an animator. He was actually the first black animator in history on Saturday morning cartoons. And those of you who know how big Saturday morning cartoons were, I'm like, dude, you are walking history. Are you kidding me?
History.
The first black animator. If you all didn't live during the age of Saturday morning cartoons, you got a 5 to 7 hour block every Saturday morning across all 3 major networks, and then Fox came at the end, made it 4, right? Of nonstop joy every Saturday morning. You dig what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, when you see how large that landscape was, and you were the first black animator to get credit on a Saturday morning cartoon, I'm like, that is shattering, ceiling shattering. But we didn't get there until I let him tell a story, right? He didn't even remember half of this. He says it in the interview. If you see the interview, he says, oh man, you got me thinking about stuff. Let people talk and be open, clear out a block of time.
Yeah.
When I interview people, I tell you, I always say, oh, give me 20 minutes, give me an hour. I already know how long it's gonna last, right? When I interviewed Kevin Grievous, you guys will probably see him on the circuit. For you all don't know who he is, he was at Motor City, and I asked him about you, and he says, what does he look like? I said, he's a robust brother, he got a bunch of hair. He said, yeah, pulled back in the bun. I said, yep, that's him. Was it pulled back in the bun?
Yeah, it was.
There you go. See, there you
go.
go.
It was pulled back. I mean, because I had my fur out, man, I had like a mad busy weekend. I was like, man, I'm sick of this hair.
And so, but see, I'm always trying to connect people. I love connecting people. So I asked him, I said, did you see my boy David there? And he didn't know what your name was, but I told him. But anyway, Kevin Grievous, for those who don't know, he was the guy who actually created the Underworld franchise. And he was the black werewolf Rays in the Underworld movie. The only black ball, he rips off his shirt and starts to that's Kevin Grievous. And he's also the guy who created Blue Marvel for Marvel. He's the creator of Blue Marvel. And so when I interviewed Kevin, I reached out to him on LinkedIn. He didn't know me from a can of paint, right? He had commented on a Blue Marvel piece of art that I'd done and I posted. And long story short, I just wanted an hour. The interview we posted was almost 2 hours. Do you know how long we talked? 5 hours. 5 hours. Okay, and now we're like this. He calls me like 2 or 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? But it was just willing to hear his story. And the more he talked, I'm like, I need more because I can leverage this. You dig what I'm saying? Not saying give out your business, but learning your journey, I can create a character, an avatar of a similar journey. And I know what it feels. I'm reading the emotion on your face. You dig what I'm saying? I know I have some glimpse of the nuance that led this person to this point, right? You can do it. All that to say this, you can do that. You can tell an isolated story. Just know that you really have to tell it well. It's like watching a one-man stage play. You ever seen those, right? Either they're really good or they're really bad. There usually is no in between. True or false? Right? It's because you eventually start to zone out. I'm like, I need a scene change. I need another character or something. You understand? But when it's really compelling and impactful, that's the skill of the writer in concert with the actor. When you're a writer, if you're going to tell a very insular story, you better make sure that you know how to tell a really strong story. Because your audience, especially in today's era of low attention span, they will check out on you quick.
Quick.
You understand what I'm saying? Quick. So, does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was picking back up that a little bit. Now, like I've said, I'm more of an artist than a writer. So that's kind of like one of my main things, pretty much. It's like my book is like it's not all the philosophical and everything. It's not. It's really
fun.
straight, simple.
Yeah.
Really. That's why I say my art really appeals to me. So when I want to branch off and do more things. See, me doing, like, when I write, pretty much, like I say, it's like based off the Black culture of certain things. See, I don't know all the ins and outs, so that's why I say people watch. I say people watch when I'm an artist. I love the people watch, but I also like to watch how people move too. Like in conversation and
Don't be watching a woman.
Yeah.
I watched a woman. My wife's like, "Who are you staring at?"
Who you staring at?
No, her hair. I'm trying to memorize her hair.
I'm an artist.
And it really is. That's how my brain works.
I gotta pay attention to every detail, every movement, man. I gotta do his commission now. Come on now.
People watching got me in trouble. So
you gotta be careful of that part. But listening to people, listening to conversation, not like eavesdropping and stuff like that. But this is how the lingo, pretty much, this is how they carry themselves. This is how this, that, and third, and stuff. And building so many friends that I know, pretty much, we all kind of talk the same, really. But it's kind of like it's different when it's like behind closed doors and stuff like that. So if I want to do a story on that, I want to kind of really do one that's behind those closed doors, pretty much, to get it,
See how the sausage is made.
Yeah, exactly. You get it? So,
it.
that's all I just wanted to say on that, really.
Yeah. Anybody else? I love these. Y'all got some great stuff. Yes, sister.
So I just want to hear your guys' take on how I diversity.
Okay.
Just for background, I do novels, art, and writing. Since I am creating my whole world, I sort of like the Brandy Rod Cinderella, in which like it didn't matter,
Right.
every color,
Right.
like was represented, like they just went.
The Bridgerton effect. Where I dig it.
There's a lot of things I could.
I know.
Dive into that, really? Yeah.
I'm with you.
I get it.
Trust me. I'm with you.
I get it.
That goes into
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Anyway, so I just sort of, because I hate the lack of diversity in fantasy.
Okay.
It actually drives me nuts. So in my brain, how I'm like, okay, here's a character, here's their profile. It does not matter entirely what they look like.
Right.
But I might picture a character that is, for example, black, everything, and their personality isn't based on the color of their skin.
Right.
How I approach it, and I would just want to see how you guys, like, do you think that's a good way to approach it?
I think that's the best way to approach it.
I totally agree.
Right. I think that culture and ethnicity, they do play a role, but they play a role in the tone of the story that you're trying to tell. Right. If it's not in concert with the tone, if it's not significant to the storytelling architecture, it can come off as forced. Do you understand? Right? So it's hard to tell West Side Story outside of the hood. That you understand. The hood was a character in and of itself. The neighborhood.
Yeah.
You follow me? And so if you're doing a character-centric story, race shouldn't matter if it's focused on the character. Race and ethnicity should not matter, or gender, right? Again, focus on the things that tie us together. That's how strong characters are made. Because characters only have value if they connect to someone out there. That's the period. We're always projecting. When we're reading, we're looking for avatars, people that represent us in this narrative, right? In some aspect. Give me an acquaintance. He was a friend. He's been banished. But, character flaws. But he came to me and he asked me, he's like, Solo, can you help me? I get a lot of people ask me for consulting on stories, right? Most people don't know I'm more of a writer than I'm an artist, but my art gets attention. We know that, right? So, but I love the craft of writing. I get lost in it. Art is just communication addendum. It just assists in the communication of it. And so anyway, he came to me and he wanted to do something. He wanted to do a reimagining of John Carter from Mars, right? And he said, Solo, how would you reimagine this? And he was a white male and he was part of the foundation, right? He was licensed with them. So he's like, they want to do a John Carter. And I said, well, let's go back to the movie. when Disney tried it. What was wrong with it? I said, I get it. When the book was written, we have to take era into consideration. He was a Confederate soldier, right? Hard to sympathize with that guy, typically, right? Now we know everybody in the Confederacy wasn't, that, but by and large, there's a stereotype there that we have to acknowledge. I said, if the goal was to make him someone reprehensible to society and then redeem him in his hero's journey, right? I said, what I would do, I said, I'd make him a cop and I'd make him black. I said, make him me. I said, because I know what that looked like to my culture, right? I was called race traitor. I was called, excuse the phrase, house nigga, right? Now, mind you, I'm serving my community, okay? I was good at what I did, right? But it was the perception, and I got it. It was the uniform. Many people in my culture couldn't get past it. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, you do that, trust me, you'd make him relevant today. And then take him on his evolution from that point, right? I said, but the way the character exists, that character he did not withstand the test. He did not age well. You understand what I'm saying? He heard it, he liked it, he couldn't present it. And I get it because of the people that were in it. But he agreed. It's like, I said, yes, if you really want to shake things up, make him a black cop in the hood. To retell the story, right? Keep the certain key elements. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're not liked in our own neighborhoods. Flat news alert, okay? Yeah. But I know what that's like. But it didn't make me a bad guy. But take him on this journey on redemption and this new plan and da-da-da-da. It's more about the character. They got stuck on the ethnicity. I was like, no, it's that whatever fandom has endured this long is not based on ethnicity. It's based on character quality. And a lot of people have a hard time separating the two. And I will go to my grave with that hypothesis. I really do believe that's it. Because when we look at one of my favorite characters, to be clear, nowadays is Miles Morales, right? I like what they've done it. But if you'd have asked me before Ultimates, did I need a black Spider-Man? I would have told you no. Peter Parker was fine. I know what it's like being broke, trying to do the right thing and having it blow up in your face all the time.
Peter was just right for me. I was like, that's all I need.
Right? Now, granted, I like the direction they took Miles. I'm like, if there was a way to do it, that's how you do it.
Then that's how you do it.
That's how you do it, right?
That's how you do it.
But if you would have asked me pre-Ultimates with Bagley and Bendis, I would have told you I didn't need him to look like me because there was more that we had in common that I could relate to just as a character.
Yeah.
I never paid attention that he was white.
Never. Yeah.
Think about it, seriously.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Like, I never looked at it that way.
No.
But that character build was that's why I guess Spider-Man is a lot of people's favorite because we can, we appeal to him. But I was 100% with him. Like,
as Peter.
Like, as just Peter.
Right.
Didn't see the white. Like, didn't care.
Didn't care. Now, on the flip side, okay, again, two truths can occupy the same space. I remember when Milestone launched in '93, right? When Milestone Comics launched. That was life-changing to me. But you know what it was? It wasn't the characters. It was the people behind the characters. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's brothers doing this on this level. Are you kidding me? And then I could see myself doing it. You understand? Yes, Icon was cool, Static was straight. But for me, it was McDuffie, it was Cowan. I was like, the people at the helm, that's what did it for me. And I couldn't get enough of it. And so that's why I pose this question. It's very much personal for me, even as I'm reimagining my own universe, because I do have diversity in my universe, right? But I want to do it the right way. I don't want to be pandering, right? We're not doing the pandaverse here, right? I want it to be genuine. Right? I want it to be on point. I don't want it to be, you can do stereotypes without being demonizing. They're not synonyms, right? There is a thread in most communities that's consistent. You dig what I'm saying? It may be considered uncouth to talk about them, but oftentimes when they're done with sincerity and integrity, most people find them receptive. You're always going to have your outliers, but it's for me personally, I will always, they both matter, But if my scale were to lean, it would be, man, who's holding the pencil? Who's behind the keyboard? You understand? And are they sticking the landing? That's what resonates with me personally. You know, the characters to me are just an extension of that. So, anybody else have any questions? We're about to wrap up here. Yes. Yes, sir. Luigi.
I've actually been trying to figure out how I wanted to formulate this for
Okay.
a while, and I still don't think I have it perfect, but we're running out of time.
That's all right, we're good. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel this expands out the bigger the project? Because obviously a lot of TV shows, or especially movies, you're talking like writer's room. You're talking like 30 odd people are involved in the process of creation. And so it can't be as focused on a singular creator's vision, or it can't be as focused on one dude consults another guy, because there's 30 other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you mentioned briefly, Feige and the Disney people. Obviously there's probably hundreds of decisions going on. What do you think? How do you think diversity intersects with that environment of there's so many?
You want me to do this one? You got it.
You got it.
Okay, so, all right.
I was like, you throw a lot in there.
No, that's an appropriate question because actually, UCLA did a study in 2019 called the Diversity Report in Entertainment, right? You can find it. It was in 2019, and it did a racial breakdown of people at various aspects of entertainment, broken down by racial demographics. Okay. There's another one. Was it Zello? I have this on. I did this. I think I put this on the Larry Houston video. I can't remember, but there's a more recent one as of 2023 that Zello did of the racial ethnic background in the entertainment arts, right? From writers to artists, the whole 9 yards. Interesting information. And so when we look at the composition of the rooms, this is where I have a problem with the DEI part, because whistleblowers that were in the rooms have stated that there are people from these various groups, right, that are in the rooms that are woefully unqualified, but they're in the room based on the merit of the community that they derive from. Okay. When you have all those voices in the room, I always put the onus on who makes the final decision. Because there's always only one person. It's distilled down to one person that green lights these things. Now, what we've seen with Feige, and he admitted this publicly, right, was the most recent, the last wave, what we call the MCU or whatever. He was largely hands off. And he's like, you know what, I messed that up, because there was so much stuff going on, right? It had grown beyond what he could handle personally. He didn't know what was happening. You understand? That's mismanagement, and he owned that, and I give him credit for that. He owned that to his credit. I think that it's okay to have diverse voices in the room, okay? But let's just be clear, every voice should not carry equal weight. I think that's the problem, trying to please everyone creatively, okay? We already know, and I teach this to my students. If you're going to do anything of merit in your life, prepare to have detractors, period. The only way not to have detractors is to do nothing. And that's the truth. Think about it. You're not going to, when you try to please everyone, you're going to be an obtuse failure. Guaranteed. Because you're standing for nothing, right? And my philosophy is this. If I get 1% of the demographic, they can pay my bills. The 99% be damned.
Yeah.
You understand my math, okay? We're talking about what? United States, 2-point-something billion people. Give me 0.3% of that and ask me if I'm doing okay. You follow me? That's the capitalist in me, right? And so when you try to give equal weight to everything, and this is why you and I invite creators, that you have to be very strategic of the input that you invite in your process, right? I do not invite everyone's opinion when I'm creating. I do not. It's very specific, and it's for a specific thing. And if I didn't ask you about that thing, do not comment on that thing. You understand? I'm asking you because you're strong here, right? I didn't want your opinion there. Okay? Yes, you're entitled to it, but that doesn't mean I have to listen to it.
Right.
I need your opinion right here because this is where I value you. You dig what I'm saying? And I'm short here, right? It's when we make these monoliths of input. Now, I do believe in counsel. That's not to say I don't believe in counsel, but my counsel is very specific, right? I'm not asking a writer his input on artistic chores, right? Or vice versa. Okay, I'm not asking an inker, does he think that these colors are on point? No, I want to know, are these lines on point? Are these shadows blocked right? Is the lighting correct? You understand what I'm saying? It's very specific. And a lot of novice creators, because of creative insecurity, they invite too many voices. Does that make sense? And they lose their own. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Any identity that was used now lost.
It's gone.
Right? Really quick, 2 minutes. Case in point, I'm about to do a review on Generation Geek on the Absolute Universe, right? Everyone's like, oh, Absolute Batman, Absolute Batman, Absolute Batman. I'm like, I got a problem with Absolute Batman, artistically. Why? Because Nick Dragotta is trying to be Frank Miller. And I'm like, dude, let me see Nick Dragotta, man. I saw this already.
You saw this, thank you.
You dig what I'm saying? I saw this
100%.
already.
I don't
right?
get it. It's like, yo, I've seen this before.
I've seen this before.
I don't know what everybody big.
And he's a great artist.
And it's dope.
But I'm like, no, you're competent. Let me see how you would do this.
Yeah.
I don't care how Frank Miller did what he was going to do. you see, that matters to me creatively. It's not saying you can't be inspired by somebody, but you can venture from sipping from a well to getting drunk on that well. You understand? Sip from it. Don't get drunk on it.
They got drunk on that.
He got drunk on it.
They got drunk on that. He was like, yo, I see what y'all doing. Like, I see that.
So yeah, I mean, we're at our end. Thank you guys. Again, I'm Solo. Check me out at Ka-Pow School. We're down right across from the guests at the back of the hall. Check us out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We got to get out of here. I guess they're on the clock, so, you know.
Hey, Dave Brown, please. Hey, if you're going to see my booth, I'm in 800, 837, please. And I'm also pretty much across from the celebrities, too, also.
And check me out at Ka-Pow School everywhere. I'm trying to get my YouTube up, so check me out at Ka-Pow School on YouTube. All right.
Anyway.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the
Appreciate
show.
y'all.
Appreciate you for showing
That
up.
was awesome.
All right.
Boy.
So we scooted in we got a little lost.
Yes.
So where is Ka-Pow School located?
It's virtual.
Virtual.
It's all online.
Okay.
All online.
Where are you based out?
I'm out of Chicago. Yep. I have one instructor in North Carolina, one instructor in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, how
But we
cool.
meet all virtually. It's all live instruction. Yep. On dedicated days of the week.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yep.
So I'm with Disability Advocates.
Okay.
And we're part of the SIL network, the Centers for Independent Living.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a lot of things where we'll go in and just be people with disabilities
Yes.
to answer questions about people
Okay.
with disabilities
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And I was wondering if there was a way that we could connect.
I would love to connect.
or
Absolutely. Please.
something.
If I can be of service, I'd love to. I'm actually a disabled veteran. 100%.
I was like, ooh, those are my people.
I'm 100% disabled. Yes. I'm limping around the hall right now. Got to see the surgeon on Monday.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Got to see the surgeon on Monday, man.
I know, I'm rolling around. I was like, we got to go find somewhere to sit down. I can't do it anymore.
No, absolutely. I hope you guys enjoyed the talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys' banter was fantastic.
Thank you.
Man,
Thank you.
No, it really made you feel connected to what you're talking about because you guys feel like real people.
Yeah.
And that's,
I mean, it was good to always have definitely, people, a different variety that everybody all feel at home.
Yeah.
it's been it really sold your point, that what you're saying, when you also bantered and made yourselves approachable.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. I appreciate
Glad
that.
you guys-
And believe it or not, I invited 2 white guys. They didn't show up. So I'm like, I wanted people to,
You
seriously.
can only be as inclusive as people
We'll allow you to.
say.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's
But
it.
you know what? That's
But they got the
it's
invitation.
one for
Yeah.
others
Say
and
my-
more and more, and it just
My
builds up.
work partner and I,
I'm a writer
we just did a
myself.
presentation
Okay.
on disability
And so I just
representation
rip
in the
off
media.
people in life.
And we had the same
And
thing.
it makes it
Invited
really
all-
easy to write
I'm
different
like, all right, well, you don't show, you don't show.
That's
Like,
what I
we
do.
can't.
I mean, I rip off people from my
Can't do it.
friends.
And I told him, he was like, oh, so I'm
So
like,
it's
dude,
kinda like
if you
that's-
My name is
my
Solo for a
world.
reason.
Exactly.
If I depended on people for my movements, I wouldn't move.
So I
Exactly.
base
You
off
know,
everybody
so-
from
But thank you guys. Absolutely, let's connect.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I don't have any cards with me, but if you come to our booth, check me out. I'll make sure you have something to take with you.
And that's all I'm
Thank you so
trying
much.
to tell people so much.
All right. Well, hopefully you got something that at least got the gears going for you. That's the whole point here at Ka-Pow is to help aspiring creators think deeply and not necessarily differently, but more expansively on the significance and the weight that they carry as storytellers. It is a significant responsibility. Stories carry so much power. And if you want to know my stance on it in a nutshell, I believe both matter equitably, both in the creator and the creation. You know, as I stated in the video, I believe I stated in the video, this all started with starting on OutSchool during COVID, when I started getting DM'd by parents whose children were signing up for my class, children of color, that in a landscape that was robust in art courses, how much weight it carried with their children when they saw my face on the thumbnail and realizing that I was Black and a professional artist. And the parents were gracious enough to share with me how it impacted their children. And then fast forward, doing cons, launching Ka-Pow, and the personal impact that it had with some of my early clients being a Black homeschool network, as well as young fans that were encouraged and hopefully inspired by seeing someone that looked like them creating these things, and not just, but also in conjunction with characters that look like them. I believe it matters on both sides. I think that true representation done in a sincere way, not pandering, not trying to hit a quota or in response to a social zeitgeist that is going to be fleeting. I believe true representation done with integrity, with proficiency, and with sincerity, I believe that carries a lot of impact, both in characters. Yes, we need characters of multiple ethnicities, but we need authentic stories that are not just delivering dogma and pushing a political agenda or whatever. Real stories that represent the sectors of society that comprise this amazing world that we live in. And so that's my answer. I believe it matters everywhere, whether you're Black, white, Asian, Native American, Indigenous, it doesn't matter. We want creators and stories that best exemplify what we bring to the creative landscape. And I think that all of it matters. It's all needed. Okay. And so, yeah, that's my stance in a nutshell. But if you like this panel, why don't you consider checking out our new offering at Ka-Pow called Panels and Gutters. Panels and Gutters is a weekly 90-minute lecture-style panel format where you get real in-time education from one of our industry pros here at Ka-Pow, and you're able to get limited access to our social media platform. And the best part probably is you get to try it for 2 weeks free. 2 weeks free. Yes, that's right. You get to try Panels and Gutters for 2 weeks free. And so, unlike many other platforms, we value trust here at Ka-Pow. And so you may be asking, what happens after 2 weeks, Solo? I'm glad you asked. Absolutely nothing. After 2 weeks is done, you are offboarded and you have a decision to make. You're not charged unexpectedly because you lost track. I know that's happened to me multiple times after a trial period, to the point where I have to set reminders. Be sure to cancel XYZ on this date. No, we're not doing that around these parts. Now, at the end of 2 weeks, it's just over and you have a decision to make, whether you'd like to continue with Ka-Pow in Panels and Gutters, expanding your comic craft proficiency, or you can go on your merry way. No hard feelings, no questions asked. And so, yeah, I would check it out if I were you. I may be biased, but I think that what we're giving here at Ka-Pow is unique It is valuable to those that have real stories they want to show to the world in a proficient and competent manner. And so check out Panels and Gutters. Doesn't cost you anything for 2 weeks. And with that being said, leave something in the comments. Like, follow, subscribe, do all the stuff here on YouTube. And if you leave a comment, I'm likely to respond. As long as it's respectful and dignified, yeah, I don't mind shouting back at you and acknowledge you in the comments, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. And be on the lookout for more things coming from Ka-Pow. You see, we've been posting regularly, and that's intentional. We're about to start dropping our exclusive YouTube series, Ka-Pow Class Pass, which are snippets from our actual courses, bite-sized chunks, and I may even come back and reinforce them with a live or with a demo to kind of drive the point home that our instructors are communicating to our students. And so, yeah, live streams, our app, all that stuff's gonna be coming down the pipeline here at Ka-Pow. And if you'd like more information, please visit us at teachyoutodraw.com, teachyoutodraw.com, and you can Google us, and check out the reviews and hear what our students are saying, our graduates as well as our currently enrolled students. But with that being said, I'm out of your hair. And as I always say here at Ka-Pow, remember, life is short. So live, love, and laugh as if it's your last day on earth, knowing that when all is said and done, when you leave here, all that will ever be remembered of you is the life you've lived, the lives you touched, and the stories you've created. So, what are you waiting for? Hope to see you in class. Solo out. Ka-Pow.